Beautiful human being, welcome to another episode of Soul Speaks with SPAC. It has been a minute since I've recorded an episode, and it feels good to be back. Life lately has been inviting me to look where I previously haven't looked. And I've identified that for a long time in my journey, and this will be a never-ending part of my journey, I've worn different masks. And these masks have served me in different ways, but they've also limited me in many ways as well. And one of the most recent masks that I've been wearing is the mentor mask, is the coach mask, the guy that postures as though he has all of the answers. And I've observed through my own reflection that in the past I probably have come across in my content as though I've got my life figured out and I've got all of the answers. But the truth is, my journey is messy and it continues to be messy. And so what I've been realizing more recently is that it is okay for me to be just Jake. In fact, the best thing that I can do is be just Jake. And this doesn't mean that I can no longer mentor or coach or teach or be a guide in any way, but it's to remind me that that's not all of who I am. What I've observed within myself is that I've spent many years in my teens and my 20s hiding and being withdrawn, being quite avoidant and not sharing my heart or my message, to more recently traveling the world, being a free-spirited traveler, putting so much content out there, putting so much energy into the content that I create. And just over the last 3 to 6 months, I've taken a big step back and I've been asking myself and sitting with bigger questions like, who am I really? And what is all of this content for? What is my mission? What is my purpose? What am I actually doing? And these are questions that I've been pondering on and reflecting on, and these are questions that I will continue to ponder on. And I think these are incredibly valuable questions for me to be asking myself, because I can just create content and I can just put out tons of content. But what is the real goal or intentional purpose behind what it is that I'm sharing? What is the point of all this? I've had to continuously reflect on that. And it's brought up some shame within me. It's brought up different feelings and insecurities within me. Because in the past I've thought, well, if I just share just Jake, who's going to listen? Why would anyone care? And so I've at times been so caught up on providing value and being of service and teaching and guiding that in some ways I've kind of lost my center. I've kind of lost myself. And since I've been back home in Australia, I've been back home for over a year now, after being gone for 3-4 years, traveling here, there, and everywhere, being on the move. This has been a great invitation for me to slow down, for me to tune in, and for me to start asking myself bigger questions. Like, what do the next 10, 20 years look like? I'm kind of at that age right now where I'm almost 30. I'm in my last year of my 20s. And there's this pressure of, you've got to have a home and a mortgage and kids and a family. You've got to have it all figured out. But the reality is I don't. I'm figuring it out. I'm actually questioning right now if I want to save so much money to buy a heap of debt, to go into a heap of debt. And I hear so many people saying, you've just got to get into the property market. There's no time like right now to get in. And so there's almost this scramble, fear-based energy to just get in and buy a house. But I'm not rushing into that because I'm questioning, is that really the best move for me and my future plans? So lately, over the last few months, 3 to 6 months, it's been a lot of work, but a lot of behind the scenes work, a lot of internal work, a lot of asking myself, why am I here and what is all this about? And what does the future look like? And what do I actually want to create? because my energy is valuable. My attention is valuable. And there have been times where I've been leaking my attention and my energy all over the place. And it feels as though I'm being very productive and I'm getting a lot of things done. But when I zoom out, it doesn't really seem as though I'm progressing. It's like my wheels are spinning, but I'm not really moving anywhere. So that's why I believe in aligned action, but also recalibration and rest to really tune in and ask those questions. Like, am I living from an authentic place? Or am I wearing a mask, and am I pretending to be someone that I'm not? So I haven't been posting much content recently, and that has even brought up these challenging feelings. It's like, dude, you've got to show up. You're going to start losing followers, or people aren't going to want to be a client of yours. But all of these are just stories, right? They're not the truth. They're just stories. And I don't have to believe them. I can witness them and be curious about them. But honestly, for me, taking a step back and giving myself permission to kind of relax a little bit has been beautiful. And since I've been back in Australia for the last 12 months, I've had a few different jobs. I've gone back to F45 as a PT. I was working as a sports coach for little kids. And I was also building my business online. And even then, there's a part of me that feels like, dude, your business should just be your full-time thing already. But then I find myself operating from this place of force. Like, I have to get clients. I have to make it work. And I don't want to operate or live from that place, because it just takes the integrity out of the work that I'm doing, out of the content that I'm putting out there. So I have worked those jobs. I've let those jobs go. And I've recently started a new job. I'm working full-time in an office with the government. And I'm back in a familiar, somewhat role to a role that I was doing a few years back before I traveled the world. And so there's a part of me that thinks I've taken a step backwards, and I'm going backwards. And there's a lot of judgment and shame there. But I'm also realizing that this is in alignment with what I am building, right? We all need money to be able to operate in this physical world. And I've been able to sustain myself with my business. But in terms of building longer term wealth, right now it feels like me having this full-time job and pouring my heart and my energy into my business on the side as well is the right thing to be doing. Because I did go through a period earlier on in the year where I quit all of the jobs and I just poured all of my energy into the business. And there was this element of me wanting to prove that I could make it work. And I can make it work. But me taking on this new job has given me a bit more stability. It's given me a bit more of a foundation. Money is not an issue. It will never be an issue. But honestly, what I am building, what I want to create, the fact that I want to be a father soon, I envision myself being a father soon, a husband, that requires resources. That requires financial stability. And I could rely wholly and solely on my business alone, but then I can start operating through this place of force and trying to impose my will upon the world. And that's not a way that I want to live either. So what I am learning through this season is that it is okay to work a job. You're not behind if you're working a job. It is okay if you can't have a business that gives you the freedom to travel the world all the time. Just because you see people out there in the online space doing that and living that way doesn't mean that you're any less of a person. Doesn't mean that I am not where I'm meant to be. And if anything, building my business has taught me a great deal of humility and trust and patience and surrender. And now authenticity. Because there has been times before where I've focused on creating content that is polarizing to create a sense of friction and engagement, and that can expand the reach. And that's okay, right? There's this joker inside of me that likes to joke around and trigger people in certain ways, not in a mean way, but just to see what I can create. And I've been able to create content that has gone viral in different ways, but that was never the goal, and that is still not the goal. Right now, I feel like I have a message that is unfolding, and I've taken a step back from the content, from the posting, because it's become more of an obligation than it has expression. And for years, I've had people say to me, "Do you have a book? You should write a book. Your journey, you traveling the world, reminds me of The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho." I'm not sure if you've read that book before or not, but I've read it, and it's a pretty cool book. And my journey is somewhat similar to that. But for many years, I thought, yeah, I could write a book, but who's going to read it? Who's going to care? Why would anyone read what I have to say? Why would anyone listen to what I have to say? And so little limiting stories and beliefs like that have arisen. But growing up, I wasn't much of a reader anyway. I wasn't much of a school kind of guy. I didn't really apply myself at school. I didn't really see the purpose or the point of school. For me, it was more of a social kind of thing. And so for me, if you were to tell me 5, 10, 15 years ago, "Hey, Jake, you're going to write a book when you're 29 years old," I would have laughed. When I was a kid, I didn't read any books. I remember reading one book when I was in year 1, I think. It was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I actually enjoyed it. And then when I got into my teens and my 20s, I remember a mate when I was living in Melbourne, shout out to Louis Shank, gave me a book called Mindset by Carol Dweck. And I read this book and I was hooked. I was like, far out. This is the real deal. And then I went down the self-improvement path. It was book after book after book after book. And I was hooked. And then after reading self-improvement book after self-improvement book, I felt incredibly productive. I felt empowered. But the funny part was, I wasn't really implementing anything that I was learning. I was reading the books and I was enjoying what I was reading, but I wasn't really integrating or applying any of that to my life. So I think that sometimes we can get caught up with the self-improvement trap, reading book after book, feeling productive, doing the practices, feeling enlightened. But year after year after year, we get stuck in the exact same place. And so for me, there came a point where I had no choice but to start implementing some of what I was learning. And for me, actually getting out of my comfort zone and quitting that job, that 9-to-5 office job, and traveling the world spontaneously, that was the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life, but the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life as well. I got out of a really challenging relationship and I got into a new and beautiful aligned relationship. And none of this would have happened had I not ventured beyond my comfort zone. So now fast forward to today. I, behind the scenes, have been working on my own creative project, a book that I've called Venture Beyond Limitation. And this excites me. I have goosebumps just talking about it right now because it's been challenging and exciting and inspiring, and me getting outside and walking my dog up in the mountains and recording voice memos, sharing my story, sharing my heart, and then pulling it all together in such a way that paints a picture and takes you on a journey. This has been the best creative project that I've ever started, and the hardest as well. And I'm not even anywhere near ready for this to be completed. But I'm looking at probably a release date early 2025. Let's see, watch this space. But this is not a how-to guide. This is not me telling you how to live your life. This is not me posturing as though I have all the answers, as though I have it all figured out, because the reality is I don't. I don't have it all figured out. I never will have it all figured out. And it's beautiful to accept the fact that I don't have it all figured out. It's beautiful to be able to embrace the unknown with a sense of openness and trust and curiosity. and to allow that to create the transformation. Because there were many years where I held myself back from posting any content, sharing any message, coaching or mentoring anyone, because I felt like I needed to have it all figured out. I felt like I needed step by step to be laid out for me. I needed a plan, and I needed to know that if I did X, Y was going to happen. The result was going to come as long as I did the thing. And that held me back for many years. So what I've learned is that within the unknown is where I get to truly meet myself. It's where my true self can be revealed. And it can be incredibly simple. I actually probably didn't need to go and travel the world in the way that I did, but I'm so glad that I did, because it brought me so many rich cultural experiences, heart-to-heart connections, and it really brought to life my inner child. It was really an invitation for me to cut the energetic cord with my parents and my family, not in a way of dismissing them or escaping from them, but to find my own footing, to discover my place in the world outside of my family, outside of my relationships, outside of my job. Traveling and venturing around the world was my invitation to discover who I was beyond all of those labels and all of those masks. And as I was traveling, I picked up more masks as I moved around. And most recently, the mentor mask. So just consider what masks you may be wearing in your life. And remember, this is an opportunity to reflect. It's not necessarily an invitation to judge yourself and to criticize yourself. But for me, just being more observant of the masks that I pick up, the masks that I wear, the masks that I hide behind. This has helped me identify the areas in my life for growth, identify the areas in my life where I'm hiding and playing small and not revealing my true self. So even this episode today, as I'm sharing it, there's a sense of flow that comes through when I allow myself to drop the mask, when I allow myself to kind of let go of what it should be and instead embrace what is. This to me is what the true gift is. And this is what Venture Beyond Limitation is about. This is what this book is about. It's about meeting yourself where you are, as you are right now, but also expanding your imagination, your capacity to call in and receive whatever it is that you want. And this could be a house, this could be a car, this could be a relationship, this could be starting a family. All of that begins within. All of that begins with an intention, begins with a thought, and then begins with identifying the version of you that has created what it is that you want and aligning your current self with that version of you. Again, this is not necessarily me instructing you or guiding you or telling you how to live your life, but this is the way that I see it. The life that I am creating is a life of alignment and purpose and connection. It is a life of adventure and freedom, the freedom of expression, the freedom of creation, the freedom of exploration, adventuring out there in the world, but also adventuring deeper within myself. So this season, over these last few months, it's been incredible. It's been necessary. It's been necessary to take a step back and to not be so focused on creating from a place of obligation, but rather creating from a place of intention. So I don't need to show up every single day. I don't need to show up because I have to. I get to show up. It is a gift for me to show up, but it's got to come from a genuine place. And so this book, it is coming from the most genuine place. It is coming from the core of my core. It is coming from my heart. And it's one of those things that I am actually, in a way, selfishly doing for myself. I'm not really doing it to make money. I'm not really doing it to become famous. I'm doing it because it is an expression of me and my journey thus far, and my lessons and blessings and stories. And it's in a way setting an intention for what I'm calling in and creating and moving towards in the future. But the book is structured in such a way that it is a journey, it is a venture within itself. And so there are invitations and reflections throughout the book and practices that will invite you to venture within yourself. And this is what it is all about. The word venture, there was so much resonance with this word when I first came across it that it just made so much sense for that to be a part of my tagline and my business. Venture is an undertaking that is risky or uncertain of an outcome. Is that not life? Is that not what it is all about? Leaning into the fear and the uncertainty and the doubt and the discomfort, but still going after what it is that you want. Being able to face your fears, your doubts, your insecurities, your imperfections, and still create what you want to create. This is what venturing beyond limitation is all about. It is a venture within and a venture out there in the world as well. And for me, when I first set off on this big adventure traveling the world, I left with this intention to find more meaning. I left with this intention to discover more of who I was. And boy, did I get that. I definitely did. But it also helped me remember that there is purpose within who and where I am right now. There is purpose within where my own 2 feet are right now. There's purpose within the next conversation that I'll have today. There's purpose within this message that I'm sharing right now. And so I don't have to travel all around the world to discover my purpose. I don't have to have a mission that saves the world to feel a sense of purpose. Purpose is something that comes from within right now. It is something to be revealed and unlocked. And that's the other really interesting part about self-improvement, is that I in the past have got caught up with the latest strategies and practices, and I've thought it's about acquiring more knowledge, acquiring more money, acquiring more followers, fame, whatever it is. But it's actually, in my opinion, more about dissolving and letting go of that which isn't me, letting go of that that doesn't serve me, letting go of that that is no longer in alignment. And then what happens is I create space for more of what is meant for me, for more of what is in alignment. And this is what the venture is all about. So I am excited to slowly, little by little, reveal more about this book. And I'm excited for this new chapter where I can allow more of me to come through. I can still support and guide in such a way, but I don't have to come across as though I've got it all figured out, because I don't. I can be me. I can be accepted and embraced for me, but I must give myself that permission first to embrace and accept myself beyond the labels and the masks. It must begin within. So all in all, this book has been years in the making, not physically writing the book, but through my life experiences. This book has been in the making for my lifetime, realistically, without me actually knowing it. And I am excited to start sharing the stories and the insights and the reflections from my journey, from the book, with my community, with anyone that wants to listen, really. Because in the past, I have actually got caught up with, how can I shape my message in such a way so that it reaches such a wide audience? But what if I instead directed my focus towards, how can I shape my message in such a way that is a reflection of me and my truth and me being honest and real? And if that influences or impacts someone in a positive way, just one person, that is a beautiful thing. That has the potential to ripple out into another person, into another 10 people, into 100 people. Not that that is the goal or the intention, but that for me is far more effortless than thinking about how can I shape this message to create such polarity and engagement. That is young Joker Jake. And I still have young Joker Jake in me. But what I'm dropping into during this time in this season is a more genuine, real, grounded, in the moment kind of Jake. So if you like it, that's great. If you don't like it, I got nothing to say. I can't do anything about that. And being able to detach from an outcome, being able to detach from whether people appreciate it, like it or not, this is a real art form that I'm learning to cultivate. So with all of that being said, I'm grateful to be in this season right now. My beautiful girlfriend, Naima, she's going to be flying over to Australia in a little bit over a month. I think that she'll make it here before Christmas. I am incredibly grateful and blessed for this season that I'm going through in life right now. I have a family that loves me, that cares about me. I have a home. I have a place that I can call home. I belong. I have the ability to impact others in a positive way. I am really tapping into my creativity. I'm writing my first book. I'm constantly starting new chapters in the book and in my life. My life and your life is the book. I've just decided to start encapsulating moments and stories and reflections and insights into a beautifully crafted book. So I am incredibly excited for it to be released, but I'm also patient. I'm not forcing this or rushing this. This journey has definitely taught me the process of leading with a clear intention and being patient and trusting and surrendering and meeting my own limitations, meeting my own sense of doubt. Like, who's going to read this book? Who's going to care? I've had to face that. I've had to be with that. I've had to embrace that. And I'll continue to have to embrace that in different ways. I've learned that that is a part of life. It shows up in many different ways throughout my journey. And so for me, it's not about resisting it or shying away from it. It's about meeting it and embracing it and sitting with it and being with it and still taking action, still venturing beyond my limitations, still venturing into the unknown. Because this is where I get to meet myself. This, in my opinion, is where the true transformation can occur. So thank you for listening. It's felt good dropping in and sharing this message from my heart today, sharing a pretty raw and real version of me, an honest version of me, where I'm at in life right now, the challenges that I'm facing right now in my life, and also dropping in and being grateful for all that I have and all that I am and all that I get to experience in my life right now. Because even though it might not be Instagram picture perfect, even though I might not be overseas traveling spontaneously like I was this time last year and the year before and the year before that, there's still so much beauty and love that I can experience where I am right now. And there's still so much purpose here right now. But it requires me to see it and to align myself with it. So, beautiful human, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching if you're on YouTube. And if this has resonated with you, feel free to drop a comment below. Feel free to let me know what part of it resonated with you. And if you feel like someone in your circle could benefit from it, be a good friend and pass it forward. Because I really believe in the ripple effect, the butterfly effect. One person impacts another person who impacts another person. It could be in a negative way, and that could create negative ripples out into the world, or it could be in a positive way. And what I'm focused on is rippling out in a positive way, just by meeting myself with love, kindness, compassion, patience, and curiosity. And let me tell you, it's not always easy. Let me tell you, I can be incredibly hard on myself, but I'm learning to be kind. I'm learning to be patient, and it's a virtue. Thank you for dropping in. Have an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you in the next episode.